Sie hören Sport und Musik.
Das Spiel ist aus! Deutschland ist Weltmeister!
In a world where fans fight over whether to call it football, or soccer, two German men defy the odds and call it Fußball. Bringing you inside the German-American football experience. And now, here are your hosts, the Schnitzel Boys.
Yeah, define those odds.
I couldn't find the button. I thought I had clicked the button, but then the window had moved.
Hey man, it's Monday night. It's Schnitzel night. It wouldn't be Monday night, Schnitzel night, if we didn't have a couple of glitches to start us off. Like
this
usual.
Is the human. It's the artisanal. It's an artisanal podcast. It's locally produced, handmade.
Like good German bread
with German ingredients. It's not. It doesn't get shipped from overseas. It's handmade.
100%. You know what I drive past every morning at 7 a.m. or 6 a.m., which I need to do it at some point. So that's the big difference between New York and LA. Is LA doesn't start until like 10 in the morning. So 7, 8, 9 a.m. There's all these bagel and bread trucks, but they're closed. They're like, yeah, we don't really sell egg bagels until 10 a.m. We wait. We're New York City. That stuff's open by 4 a.m. You know, it's the morning's ready to go in New York. Here in LA, there are no mornings. It's just an empty city. But there's a little green van, like a painted VW van, on the corner of the street over in Los Feliz. And it's called the Black Forest Bread Truck.
Oh.
And it's just German breads that they sell out of the truck. And I need to be there when they're open, which is like 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. on a Tuesday or something, or their hours or something.
Wow, okay.
I need to figure out when they're available because I need to go buy some of that Black Forest bread and see what the hubbub's all about. And
from the truck. All right.
I love eating breads from trucks. I don't know. Food from trucks is exciting.
Tastes better. You're outside. It's a sense of adventure. Street meat, they call it here in New York. Is that what, not when it's bread, when it's, I don't know if that's just a New York thing or is that an American
I've heard that in
thing?
New York. I know, it's a good question. I've only heard that in New York. But
gonna get some street meat for lunch.
Because in New York, the halal trucks are very popular. Where that's more, here in LA, I don't see a lot of that. I mean, I see some of it. There is a halal guy's restaurant here, like the same one from the one on the Lower East Side. But as far as if you're looking at a street cart around here, there's a lot more variety. For instance, I'm only a couple blocks away from a doner truck.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the same. They call it Berlin Döner, but it's not the same Döner. Just like most German food, it's some sort of American bastardization of it. But anywho, Daniel Young is here. Daniel Young had your first day of jury duty. Congratulations. I've never been lucky enough to be involved, but I want to.
Is that something that you congratulate someone for? Is that like an accomplishment? Why not?
Yeah, the Schnitzel Boys it is. Congratulations.
Congrats.
You're being a citizen. You're being a citizen doing your duty.
You're doing your duty. It is important. You don't want just weirdos on the jury. You want regular people like us. I have never been. I'm not allowed. I'm not yet a citizen, although I'm now. My application is being processed, so I will eventually become a citizen, presumably, and then I will do jury duty also.
Are you gonna do this here? How do I do this?
What?
How is your? Are you gonna be proud to be a citizen, Bjorn, an American citizen?
I like America.
Yeah, I remember when my parents were about to be kicked out, so they had to become citizens, or else they were going to get kicked out.
Why were they Why are they getting kicked out?
That's what America told them.
They didn't have green cards.
Well, the green cards were expiring. Green cards expire after 10 years or whatever.
But
that's
then
what someone told them.
You can extend them.
Well, okay, I guess I don't know that. I grew up the only American citizen in my family.
Mm.
Everybody else was German, including my sisters. I was the only American. I was the only American citizen. I was the only American with a passport.
Okay.
Anywho,
So you were like, "Oh, well, I'll miss you guys, but
yeah. I was like,
make
it's
sure you go.
complicated.
Make sure you go grocery shopping before you leave."
Yeah, and then I told my dad, it's like, just go be a citizen. And he's like, but I'm German. And he got really mad about it. He's German or something. And I was like, well, you could be German and American at the same time. That's what America's all about. So it's like a borrowed.
Well, I mean, I think technically you are supposed to. Well, the Germans, I had to file an application with the German government to be allowed to keep my German citizenship upon acquiring the American citizenship. So
I don't remember having to do that. I have both. I'm a dual citizen. I've always been dual citizen.
of course, that's
Never
easy.
had to.
If you,
What about the other?
well, if you are born, what's happening there?
Are you going to be this? I just don't know how to zoom in. How do you zoom in again? Zoom in.
Is this just a random person, or is this somebody?
No.
Specific?
How do you zoom in, Bjorn?
Is it Arnold Schwarzenegger?
You're spoiling it. Here we go. How about this? There we go.
It's Arnold.
Are you gonna be like that? Proud to be an American. That was
only my biceps is gonna look like that.
That was when Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's when Arnold Schwarzenegger got his citizenship. He was so proud he took that photo. He dressed himself like Uncle Sam.
Well, I know these days it's not cool to be into America, but I do feel a connection. I do feel like this country has been good to me. I was pretty depressed before I came here. I've been more. It's things have worked out for me. So I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna go all out like he did but I think I will. I will feel something. I don't think this is just for me. It's not just gonna be, which is why between you and I didn't want to become a citizen while Trump was president. I felt like was not a good time.
Well, I would disagree with you. I'm a little confused here. You said it's not cool to be an American. I don't know who told you that. I don't know where you're getting. You're getting way too much New York City in your body. And the whole Trump thing, I get it, but that's the best time to be a citizen, so he can't evict you, or what's it called, deport you.
Oh, you can't. Right. Well, that's true, but I was like, I that was just a little, I don't know. Yeah, but okay.
I understand what you're saying, but what I'm saying is I'm being very lawyerly. Be like, get that passport so he can't freaking deport you.
Right.
Like,
sure.
Get that citizenship, my friend. But that's fun.
It's all in progress. I'm sure I'll get a little verklempt when that ceremony is happening, etc.
The questions the State Department asked my parents are this. They sat my dad down talking about Hitler for an hour. Asked him, "Are you a Nazi? Okay. Are you a Nazi? Are you a Nazi?" My dad's like, "I was born in 1944, so I was a little young, don't you think?" And then they kept asking my mom about prostitution.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah, they really. I'm very curious about that process. It's a naturalization process, and I'm like, who are these guys? Are they just pulling up stereotypes? That'd be like if you're sitting a Muslim down or someone from like Saudi Arabia and be like, so 9/11, eh? Tell me about 9/11. What do you think about 9/11?
I have found those people, a lot of the people who have those jobs to be pretty hostile and pretty, and like your experience, like pretty across the board. Like
it's just a stereotype, though.
I don't know how
inappropriate. I don't know. I'd be like, fuck that. Keep the
passport. I didn't in my experiences, because I for a while had I had an expired green card and my application got lost. This is a long story, but anyway, I just had to, for a while, I had to go into a special room every time, because instead of having a green card, I just had a stamp in my passport saying like, oh, we're giving you another year while your application is pending. And that worked out. That went on for a few years. And then I had to go to the special room. Like I would go through customs and they say, oh, you have the stamp. You got to go into room A. And then you go into this room where there's like people chained to chairs who have been like sitting there for a long time. Like it's a bleak scene. And then you deal with these, I don't know, special And they were not always nice, actually.
Sure.
So I'm not surprised. They were like, this one guy once told me that, like, yeah, your paperwork is in order, but if it was up to me, I wouldn't let you in. I was like, why not? What have I done exactly? Like, what is like?
You know what? That pisses me off because it's like that. What the hell is that? It's about a feeling. Like psychopaths will smile at you. Like a real psychopath is probably the ones they like the best because they're stupid. So a psychopath will just smile right in their face, being total liars, be like, "Oh, I will do not," and walk right past them. Whereas real people like you, they love to like have a bad feeling about because they're stupid and they're not psychologists.
Yeah, I don't know. He didn't. He wouldn't explain what I had done. I was like, I pay taxes.
That's the problem.
But that's the problem. Anyway, so
you know who else doesn't pay taxes, Bjorn? Uli Hoeneß, former Bayern München.
Oh yeah, well,
super boss.
He went to jail.
The word on the street is Bayern München's his son is about to take over Bayern München, and Oliver Kahn.
Which one? Not Sebastian. Sebastian's busy coaching Stuttgart.
No, that's his nephew, his son.
Oh, right. That's Dieter's. He's Dieter's kid. His son is going to take over. Oli Kahn is out.
He looks like a little version of Uli Hoeneß. He's like
they're gonna keep just firing people at Bayern. We're gonna fire everyone until we win again.
The Bayern blunders just keep on keeping on. Oliver Kahn's on the hot seat. Hasan Salihamidzic is on the hot seat. And there are some recent bonkers MSN articles about how the entire roster is going to be sold, including Thomas Muller this summer, which gets me to thinking, Thomas Muller to LAFC? You heard it here first.
Yeah, that doesn't make it true, though.
Yeah,
I mean, no, of course, you're right.
I'm going to be an LAFC man. I was debating whether to put deposits down today for season tickets, so we'll see.
Oh.
I've never done that in my life, but
Thomas Muller, 33. He's 33. He's going to be 34 in September. So,
MLS
yeah,
time.
I guess. But then, counterpoint to what you're saying is that I read today on Twitter that MLS clubs are very quiet around this transfer window because they feel like the big money transfers have not worked out lately. The big signings that people were excited by, Insigne, Shaqiri, the over-the-hill Europeans have fared very, very poorly recently in MLS.
If by recently, do you mean during its entire 28-year history?
Right. I mean, yeah, exactly. More or less. Well, I mean, there's some other... You can find some examples of people who did well, but not lately. So I don't know. I don't know about Muller to LAFC. We'll see.
Yeah, that's more of a Muller to LA Galaxy, I think. I don't know. I'm all about, like, most over the hill Europeans are just that over the hill. But I think Thomas Muller has still got gas in the tank. I don't know. I'd be very curious to see how that works. And I think he would. I don't know. Like, you're comparing Thomas Muller to Insigne and like Shaqiri and like Douglas Costa. It's not the same. Thomas Muller doesn't get the respect he deserves. This is Thomas Muller.
He's I guess it's true. At his peak, he's like a top 5 player worldwide, probably.
Yes, secretly. No one ever gave him, but he scored way more goals than any of those other big guys at the major tournaments. Mm-hmm. He's got more titles than all those other guys. He's Radio Muller. He's in charge of the attack. So we'll see. We will see.
Yeah, let's talk about it though. I watched a bunch of this Mainz Bayern game this week, and it's like, it's not clear. I mean, Thomas Tuchel, he had in his press conference after, was like, yeah, he doesn't really have an explanation, except the team just looks like They've played 80 games. They've
Yeah.
played 80 games this season. They don't have the physical presence, he said. They're not able to play without making mistakes. And that's what it is. And that is what it is. It's like sort of weird individual mistakes who taken one by one, you would be like, well, yeah, shit happens. But it's adding up. It's adding up for them. But it's not like it's a terrible roster. I mean, Upamecano has had a rough
patch. Yeah, a couple of games.
Rough patch, rough month. I don't know where to exactly draw the line. He's been. I mean, the Man City matchup was very bad for him, and so there's definitely some, like Jan Sommer had a bit of a howler this weekend. I mean, you can definitely point the finger. But what kicker commentary said, there are no leaders. There are no leaders on this team, and I don't know. Like I don't know. I mean, of course you're missing Neuer, but I mean there is Kimmich. There's
Muller. He started.
There's Müller. I mean, these guys are. When things were going well, they were supposed to be the. It's not clear. It's not clear what exactly the problem is. Those players are good. I mean, it's a little bit like Chelsea in the Premier League. I mean, also, of course, Chelsea in much more dire straits, like much further down the mid. But it's also like you look at their roster, you're like, yeah, these guys are all good, and yeah, it's just weird. It's a little odd. It's a little odd. It's hard to really pinpoint. But it was clearly not Nagelsmann. And now everybody's like, well, clearly firing Nagelsmann was a mistake. Now everybody agrees. I don't know. There's also,
whatever's going on, I would challenge you to say it's odd. It is odd, and like that's the study of human psychology. But it boils down to psychology. Mood matters. Like in a locker room, being gung-ho, being on a run, that matters. Like psychology matters of your players. That's what's going on in Chelsea. And I think what's going on right now at Bayern München is everything's happening very fast. A lot of stuff's happening fast. Every day there's a new report. It was Nagelsmann, then it was this, and then it was Zane and Mane. And then there was stuff before. Every day there was something new going on over at FC Hollywood. It's just like, relax. Everyone needs to calm down. Was it a great move to fire Julian Nagelsmann? No. I didn't know what was going on behind the scenes. Maybe something bigger happened, or I don't know. Maybe something happened. If it's what I've read, if it's what I've seen, if it's like they didn't like his behavior and he took a ski trip but he wasn't supposed to, then that can wait till the summertime. You don't have to do that in March. I don't know why they did that in March if that's the case. To me, that would have been a mistake. Because even if you don't like him, the team was doing very well. They were doing well in the Champions League. They were top of the league. They were still in the hunt for the treble. There's no way keeping Nagelsmann, the team would have been any worse than they are off now. So they should have kept him in that regards. If they want to hire Tuchel, that's fine. But managers, especially with Tuchel, or just managers in general, they need time. Making that decision, that was them. Really, they should have admitted to the fact that we're throwing this season away. We got this new coach. We're figuring out.
They thought like, oh, I mean, I think this is also part of it, right? Like just taking this for granted. It's been 10 years. And there was just like, I think that's also part of it with the Nagelsmann move. They're like, oh, it can't get any worse. We're already like struggling and it's like, no, it's could get a lot worse. And now they're kind of, well, I mean, they're out of the Champions League, they're out of the Pokal, and now they are second in the Liga. And if Dortmund wins their last 5, they will win the Meisterschaft.
Die Meisterschale.
Die Meisterschale. Die Schwarz-Gelben will win die Meisterschale.
There's so many Derek Ray-isms over the weekend. I want to record it, but you can't record ESPN broadcast. I need to get my microphone.
Just tell me the word, and I'll do it for you.
There were so many. It was like Right when it put on one of the broadcasts.
Bayern 04. Bayern 04. I watched the game on Sunday. The Bayern. I mean, you want to talk about a team that had a great week.
Well, let's stick with Bayern for a little while longer, and then we'll hop over to Bayer Leverkusen. Cool. I just have a couple of big questions for you, Bjorn.
All right.
So, because the Bayern München news is the talk of the town, right? Because it's Bayern München. So, there's plenty of other stuff to talk about. And credit to Mainz, they're in great shape. I love the fact they turned it around. But, like,
they do well.
So with Bayern München, so a couple things. But first and foremost, Robert Lewandowski showed his worth, didn't he? Like, without Robert Lewandowski, that's sort of how this all started. And they could have kept Robert Lewandowski. That's sort of the Robert Lewandowski talk. But my question is this.
Yeah, what's your question?
Right now, this is like a regular season for Bayern. Just like you said, that they're way too spoiled. And now them being second place is like a disaster. Or back in the day, them being second place was not a disaster. It was just like, that's fine. Better luck next year.
We're in the run, and
we're in the run. Those are the Bayern of old. It was like they were on a year, then they were off a year. They were on a year. But Robert Lewandowski, they were on 10 years in a row. And now he left. And now they're finally off again. And how do you feel that in order for the Bundesliga to be more competitive, it had to get rid of its best player? I don't know how you feel about that. And B, we do need to realize that Robert Lewandowski broke the Bundesliga. He was just too good for it. Whatever club he was on, he was winning. He won the 2 seasons with Dortmund. Then he went to Bayern and won 10 years in a row with them. He was just way too good. And then the bigger question I have is, I was just listening to an older episode of ours. We're talking about the German national team, and how the youngsters aren't showing up, and all these old fogies are playing because they have to. There's no one showing up, and I mentioned there's a big sort of issue with German development right now. And you look at Bayern München, and do you think it's related? Do you think the Bayern München troubles and the Germany troubles are related? There aren't a lot of good new talent coming through Bayern München's ranks either. It's just Musiala. So,
well, I mean, they have a bunch of kids that have gotten some time.
German kids?
Well, I mean, whatever kids that they have, I don't know. Some of them are from the academy, some of them are acquired, but they're young. They have some young talent. That's not. I mean, you can't look to that. Like Tuchel took out Kimmich and Müller, right? And brought in a couple of youngsters because he was so annoyed with the lack of energy. So I don't think that's. I mean, I also am always. It's like when we were talking about earlier when there were a lot of German teams. This is still small sample size, a few games up and down. So to kind of assign like larger trends to this, I'm always a little, like earlier this season we were talking about, the Bundesliga is doing so well in Europe. How is this? What does that mean? And now then they all get eliminated. It's like, now we're. I mean. I don't know. I don't think those two things are related.
I'm looking at the subs right now. None of them were German. Matthias Tell is a young French professional. Gravsend is a young Dutch professional.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. What is
Mazraoui, the Moroccan international. Well, I'm just saying, is it related? I don't know. There's no German youngsters coming through.
I don't think it's related. I mean, unless no, I don't. Yeah, I think the Bayern, they also have a bunch of people who have been taking up these spots for a long time, and so there needs to be a little bit, and maybe it is. Maybe Müller does need to leave. I don't know if they really want to turn over the whole team. So I don't think the fact that Bayern is now like 2 points behind Dortmund is any kind of larger reflection on youth development. And there's plenty of young talent. It always, these generational things, they kind of come and go. The national team definitely has struggled. You can find a bunch of. I mean, yeah, it's hard to. I'm a little puzzled by it. I don't have like this kind of overwhelming theory that explains it all. I think like Musiala, for example, he's such a talented guy. He has so many, but he also, I don't know. He's also not. It doesn't seem like he's making them better.
No, he's very young.
Like he does kind of. Like when he gets the ball, that's often it for their attacking. Yeah, there's just not a lot of flow for them offensively, especially. And then they make these defensive lapses, where again you look at the squad and you're like, individually, all these guys are good, except Upamecano really has. Yeah, he's not been good, but. Then I read a bunch of stuff about Salihamidzic and the Mane transfer just served to as a show, was just a show transfer.
What do you mean?
I don't know what that means. I mean, yeah, like the kicker commentary was saying that this was just like Salihamidzic was a little bit under fire, and then he signed Mane to show how great a guy he is. But I don't know, Mane, like that was a legit coup to get him, and it's weird that it hasn't. It's weird that it hasn't worked out. We don't know the behind the scenes. Clearly, there's some tension there. If there's like fisticuffs and stuff. He's also been hurt for a long time. He hasn't quite. I mean, it hasn't gone as anyone wanted. But ask Liverpool if they miss him. They certainly do. So it's not like that was a bad. I don't know. There's a lot of these things where people are like, well, obviously that was terrible. I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, maybe, but it's also just like you're saying, it's like this sort of lack of confidence and the pressure, taking things for granted, being like, oh, this should be automatic, and now it's not, and then that probably weighs heavily on the whole team.
Yeah, I mean, Sadio Mane should have ripped this league apart. He was injured. Maybe it's an environment thing. Maybe it's all related to something weird. You heard stories all year about like Gnabry went to France for Fashion Week, and you always hear about Sané being consistently late. Sané's family moved to England 2 months ago, and he moved to England. Not Sadio. I keep mixing them up. Sané. He lives in England now. He moved to England halfway through the season. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
He flies in.
I don't know where anybody lives. Why did he do that?
His family didn't like Germany and left. They went back to England, where they're from. His wife and daughter is English.
Oh, because he lived in Manchester for all this time.
Yeah.
All right.
And his family left. So now he flies back and forth from England and Germany all the time. And it's like, I don't know. It's like there's a Bild would say there's a discipline problem at Bayern München,
or is it like, I mean, but that's the thing. Is it a discipline problem, or is this just a guy like having some issues with his family? Is it like just...
And he needs help with it. Same with Sadio Mane. Maybe he's adapted to a new culture. He needs a little help. So I do think it's just a big psychology aspect to it.
Sure.
Maybe that's why they brought Tuchel in, to be like, we need a guy who will just put the foot. That's what maybe Nagelsmann's problem was. He was also off going on vacation. He was too young to manage all these personalities. So maybe that's why they brought Tuchel in, to be like.
But it could also just, it could also just be like they lost Lewandowski. They didn't really replace him. His sort of replacement, Mane, missed a lot of the year, and now they're like a little bit less good. I mean, maybe there's
Choupo-Moting was injured for a while.
Maybe maybe it's not a cultural thing. Maybe the coach is not bad. Maybe they're just a little bit less good.
With this roster, you can still win titles, massive titles. So maybe, I read an article about there being a big fire sale over the summer. I'm like, I don't know why, and players aren't at their best. So something's going on. There's a focus issue, maybe at Bayern. And they got rid of their big cannon up top with Robert Lewandowski. He's 40 goals a year that they never replaced. So I think, I think that's
and they still are scoring a lot. I mean, they still have by far the best goal differential in the league. I mean, it's not like they're 10th. I mean, so anyway, that's all I got. We'll see what happens. I mean, certainly there's always a lot of drama. All the old guys, the Hoeneß, Rummenigge,
They're still around.
Connection,
Yeah.
they're still around, and of course, they've never done anything. They never made any mistakes. So,
what's
it's
Uli
always
Hoeneß's
the
son?
seat is hotter and hotter.
What's Uli Hoeneß's son's like qualification? I don't know. I know anything about him, other than he looks younger.
It's like
This looks
Succession. This
younger.
is like Succession. He's
It's
just going to
100%.
just going to give it to his kids.
Yeah, it's like Brian Cox. He even looks like Brian Cox. Anywho, I just want to talk about Bayern. Let's talk the town. Not all as well as Bayern, but they're only a couple points off. They can still win the league this year. They can still win the league.
Well, it's hard to imagine. Well, I mean, Dortmund's going to lose next week, so
maybe
it's all going to be even out. Yeah, I don't know.
But the schedule was on Dortmund's side today.
No, it is. Dortmund certainly could win these last 5 games.
Do you feel that they would have won 4-0 if they weren't the game after the Bayern München loss? Speaking of psychology.
That's just... But they were in a similar situation last week, and they just pissed it away. I don't know. It's like where they had the late game, and then it's like 3-3 against... I don't know. I mean, Dortmund, it seemed like they really went back to those, those new defensive virtues that they found earlier this year, which they had kind of, over the last few games had not held up for them. But this was a very solid. I mean, they also got these early goals. This was just never in doubt. It was just a destruction of Frankfurt. Mats Hummels, it's like, Nick Cushing said about NYCFC last week. You know you're going to have a good day if your center back scores a scissor volley from a corner. Like if Mats Hummels gets a header in, you're going to have a pretty good game at this point.
That's like a litmus test to see the psychology of your team if they're free flowing and playing fun, and they were. So Dortmund destroyed Eintracht Frankfurt, Europa Liga defensive champions, defending champions, 4-0 to finally claim their top spot. This is not a drill. Dortmund is top of the league. 5 games left. Bayern München still has RB Leipzig, where Dortmund does not. So you'd argue that Dortmund's path. I mean, they're pretty equal. Dortmund still has
Dortmund has. I looked at this recently.
Yeah, I did.
Dortmund is on the road at Bochum next week, which I mean, who knows? Who knows anything? Bochum has gotten their points the hard way. They got road wins in Köln, and they got a point in wherever it was, somewhere, and they won their home game against Leipzig, and they lost home to Schalke. Now they got destroyed by Wolfsburg this weekend. So who is to say who's going to show up? Which team is going to show up? So they would, of course, love to spoil it for their neighbor, but I don't have a ton of belief, but we'll see. And then they have 2 home games against Wolfsburg and Mönchengladbach. They have a road game at Augsburg and another home game against Mainz. So these are all on paper 5 easy wins.
Well, I mean, Mainz and Bochum,
Mainz
that's maybe
at
a
home,
draw.
I don't know.
Yeah, but
Bochum's going to be a draw.
Bayern München has RB Leipzig. That's sort of the big money match on their schedule that they got.
They have Hertha Berlin at home, Bremen on the road, Schalke and Leipzig at home, and then Köln on the road. But lately, they've dropped points at home to Hoffenheim. They've dropped points.
Yeah, they're bottling it. The bottlers.
Yeah, they lost in Mainz. So it's not about they lost at home to Freiburg in the cup. I mean, it's all it's not about the opposition. It seems like almost. It seems like it's about
they
their
own
lose
to themselves. Yeah, they lose to themselves. Yeah. Bayern München wins a game, or Bayern München loses a game. The other team has nothing to do with it. So Bjorn, who's going to win it, Dortmund or Bayern this year?
I say Dortmund's going to win it. I said Dortmund's going to win it a while ago, and I'm sticking with it.
Sticking to it. I don't even know, man.
I'm sticking to it. Yeah.
Well, very cool. Well, Dortmund have themselves a good game, but again, what's so funny about this race is that Bayern and Dortmund both stabbed themselves in the foot. They've been doing it all season. And there's 5 games left. If you're telling me both of them are going to win all 5 games, I'm like, nope. No. Points are about to get dropped. Those teams are about to drop some points. Right now, it's about which team drops the least points. So it's an exciting end to the end of the Bundesliga season. We haven't had this in a while. I'm excited.
No, it's true. It's cool.
Excited.
And yeah, I mean, now if you just look at it's really just, I mean, Dortmund's having a good season. Dortmund's averaging like 2 points. They both like around a little over 2 points a game, which in seasons past, Bayern has done more than that. Like they had,
right.
But that's still a pretty good, it's not a total collapse. So anyway.
Well, the winner is usually Bundesliga winners make 72 to 75 points. That's usually the Bundesliga title thing. Well, every now and then Bayern München will get like 95 points. I think they did under Pep's first year. But when Dortmund won it back in the day, I looked this up the other day. I think it was one was 75 points, the other was maybe 81 points, which is surprisingly high.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah.
When Dortmund won it in 2002, I remember they won it only by 69 points. It was surprisingly low that year. So if they
that's just how the European leagues work in general. Like if in MLS, there's only a handful of teams who have ever, or maybe, less than 10 at this point, teams that have averaged 2 points or more for an entire season. That's quite rare in MLS.
Yeah, the Revs
but in Europe, generally, if you want to get anywhere close to the title, you have to average significantly more than 2 points. In England, it's like you have to average 2 points to make Champions League. More or less.
Yeah. So Borussia Dortmund, I think they're at 60, and Bayern München are at 58 right now, or something 59. Like that. Was it 61?
One behind, 60 and 59.
So that's 15 points up for grabs, which means neither of them are going to break 75. Only if they have a perfect record, they're going to get 75.
I think Dortmund could win the last 5. I could see that.
Maybe. But the title winner is going to win by under 75 points. Maybe, like I said, up to 75.
By 75 or less, yeah.
75 or less.
Sure.
Cool, very cool. So I didn't mean to cut you off. The best team in Germany, though, isn't Bayern München or Borussia Dortmund. What's the best team in Germany right now?
Well, I don't think they're the best team, but they are. They've had the best week of anyone. Bayer Leverkusen.
They have the best record.
Bayer 04 Leverkusen. Under Xabi Alonso have turned it around. They came back after their pretty lackluster first leg of the Europa League with the other Union Saint-Gilloise.
Oh, Saint-Gilloise. Yeah, they destroyed them.
And they destroyed them on the road. They went to Belgium and were like, enough with this mucking around. And I don't even know what the final 4-1 they won on the road.
And now they have to go play Roma.
Now they're playing Roma. Roma has been good. But Leverkusen, the last German team standing. And then this weekend, the big Verfolger-Duell, the contender, the contenders, the wannabe Champions League contenders of Leverkusen at home against RB Leipzig, and Leipzig had more of the ball and were more attacking. And then in the first, then Leverkusen got a counterattack goal, and in the second half, they looked pretty gassed. Leverkusen, Leipzig hadn't played midweek, and Leverkusen had that road game in the Europa League. And so second half, Leverkusen looked spent. They were really, they also are just kind of a counterattacking team. So they're ready to kind of just sit deep. But then if there's no counterattacking, then you just defend the whole time. So for the second half, for a lot of it, they really were just kind of Nkunku came back. He came off the bench on the second half, and he made a difference for Leipzig, and it looked dangerous. But then another counterattack late and a foul gave them their 2-0. So they were very happy, I think, to win that game so relatively stress-free. The result would suggest it was not. It was much closer than that. Watching it, but great week. Hats off for Leverkusen. could make the Champions League by winning the Europa League. That's really entirely possible. The teams left are Roma. The other teams are Roma, Sevilla, and
The Feyenoord
Sporting, right? Is it no
Sporting?
Feyenoord is out. And no, Juve in Italy. So Juve, Sevilla, Leverkusen, and Roma. I don't know. That's a pretty open.
Yeah.
I mean,
They
I'm
could
not
also-
wouldn't say they're the favorites, but they certainly could. They certainly could win. Man
Bayer
United
Leverkusen are only 6 points off the top 4 in the league.
Yeah, they could also still make it into the Champions League spots. The old-fashioned way, over Leipzig or over. I mean, we've been sort of waiting for Freiburg and Union to collapse. That hasn't happened. Freiburg, with a very convincing win over Schalke, and Union winning on the road in Gladbach. So they're still pretty dug into their Champions League spots, but this was a big win. Yeah, it narrowed that gap to 4 points. Goal differential is also pretty close. So Bayern is in it.
Bayer Leverkusen's flying. Union Berlin, defying all odds, very strongly cemented in 3rd place. Everyone thought they were going to collapse in the depth, and they're like, "Screw it, we're going to go." I think they go to Champions League next year, man. It's looking like it. RB Leipzig.
Seems like it.
I want to invoke Tara Devi West, one of our fans, one of our Schutzlokovs, big RB Leipzig fan. She thought maybe they can go all the way this year. They looked like they had it on paper, but they had a lot of bad luck. And Kuku was very missed. Timo Werner is just not his self again. Andre Silva isn't really playing like he played at Frankfurt. I don't know. I think also they lost their goalkeeper early. So they've been playing with a standby goalkeeper for all season. So RB Leipzig's been hit with a little bit of bad luck this year, perhaps. Maybe better luck next year. But they're underperforming, right? You have to say RB Leipzig's underperforming a little bit.
Yeah, we keep waiting for them to. I mean, they could still. They're still in the cup. They're still in it. They could also still certainly make the Champions League. So anything's still possible. But yeah, a little bit. I mean, at this point, if you had asked me to put, I would have said at this point, Leipzig is 3rd for sure.
Well, Leipzig's supposed to be in the same party that Bayern München and Borussia Dortmund are in, but they're not. Bayern München and Borussia Dortmund are the only 2 people at that table. So they'll be a little disappointed with that this year, I think. And then the other big game that I want to talk about is the St. Pauli HSV Super Derby.
Oh yeah, that was wild. I totally forgot about it. I was going to watch it, and then I don't think it was on TV anywhere either.
It was on TV. I forgot about it too. It was on ESPN Plus.
Oh, it was.
I unfortunately kind of also forgot about it because it's not part of my regular schedule. But it was a 4-3. It was a 4-3 super thriller, 7-goal thriller.
Hamburg won it.
I think HSV maybe finally. I hate to knock on wood here. I think HSV is finally, after years of being the only team who's never been demoted, they got demoted, and they've had quite a struggle coming back. And remember when Bobby Wood was their star goal scorer? I mean, they're still not in a promotion spot. They're only 3rd. Are you sure? I thought they were 2nd.
No,
they're Heidenheim 2nd.
Heidenheim, Darmstadt, and Heidenheim, both from the same era, the same region, are still 1 and 2. Hamburg HSV is Dritter, but now I think.
Well, they'll be in a promotion. They'll be in a promotion series.
It's going to be the 3. It's going to be the 3 of them most likely. They have now a 9-point lead over Paderborn and St. Pauli. St. Pauli's run, where it seemed like for a minute they maybe had a chance at promotion, that is over now. Most likely 6 points off. Yeah, but I mean, the 3rd place team always loses to the Bundesliga team. So that's certainly not a guarantee.
Right now it'd be Hamburg versus Stuttgart. So I don't know. Well, I'm rooting for you, Hamburg. Get your butts back up there. For whatever reason, Heidenheim
Why are you rooting for Hamburg?
Because it's one of my 10 cities that I have 100% connection to.
Okay.
Because go
No,
Hamburg.
Darmstadt, you got to work a little. I'm sure you can
I have
find
no
something.
connection to Heidenheim or
You can find
Darmstadt.
something in Darmstadt and Heidenheim. Look a little bit, like shake that old family tree of yours again a couple times, and I'm sure some Heidenheim connection will fall out.
My grandfather was one of 18 children, so I'm sure it's around there somewhere. Anyway, the only thing I know about Darmstadt is Barack Obama follows them on Twitter, so that connects all Americans to Darmstadt.
Yeah.
All right, does that do? So we got Dortmund maybe taking it this year. We got so the other thing is you're really depressed about VfL Bochum, but I cheered you up by saying everybody else lost as well. Everybody lost in the bottom. So
It's
Bochum,
a weird.
Losing,
it's
they're still not in a relegation spot. I think Stuttgart got a point, but that's it. Everybody else,
which is wild. I mean, that's just wild. I mean, Bochum has really they've had some. I mean, I can't even. You can't even call them must-win games because they've been losing them all. They're still, they're still in it. I mean, it's sort of defies logic in some ways. Their goal differential is by far the worst. They've lost 18 out of 29 games, and they're not in a relegation spot. And so, I thought they needed points against Stuttgart at home. I thought they needed some points out of this game. So the rest of their schedule is pretty difficult. I don't know, but I guess I can't really bet against them because everybody else keeps losing. It looks like these teams all look like they may not get another point this year. So then in that case, if that happens, if everybody else doesn't get another point, then Bochum will survive.
Everybody's losing on the bottom and everybody's losing on the top, defying all logic. The Bundesliga beat Bundesliga.
Nobody's getting any points.
Nobody's getting any points. Stumbling to the end.
So, but yeah, the next week, the big one. That's the big one. Bochum against Dortmund. We don't have anything.
I predict a tie.
Right?
I predict a tie.
I mean, that would follow the pattern, the recent pattern, where Bochum gets points in games where they are not supposed to, and then they just completely get destroyed when in these games where you think they should get something out of. So that would be on brand if they got a point. We also have but yeah, I mean, everybody else, Bayern at home against Hertha. You don't think that Hertha will necessarily get a lot out of that game. Schalke is against Bremen. Stuttgart at home against Gladbach. I don't know. We'll see. This could be the week where Bochum falls back into a relegation spot. Hoffenheim and Pellegrino had another bad loss, but they're also a couple points out. Anyway, that's it. Big game. It's on Friday. It's not Saturday. It's Friday afternoon U.S. time. So we'll know. In this case, we'll know early. Dortmund's going first this week.
Good. Freitag, Ruhr-Derby.
Bayern not until Sonntag. Ruhr-Derby. Yeah, Ruhr-Derby. Das Kleine. Das Kleine. They call it the little Ruhr-Derby because Schalke against Dortmund is the big one. And we're the little
Derby. Well, Bayern's going to win. I mean, Hertha. I don't know. Watch Hertha beat Bayern. Hertha's going down. I don't know what to do about Hertha. But anywho, I believe that's German soccer. We got excitement at the top, excitement at the bottom. The league is far from over. That's been the German soccer this week. Thank you all very much for joining us in this first hour, this Deutschland hour of Schnitzel Night. Tell your friends and fam. Coming up next, it's USA Hour.
Yeah.
On the stream. See you all there. Tschüss.
US has a new sport director.
That's right, and so many other things to talk about. Germany just released its summer friendly schedule, but we'll talk about that later. Tschüss.